on your radio, online and on the ABC Listen app. This is Drive on ABC Radio Queensland.
What if the only thing standing between Earth and a zombie apocalypse was a men's shed? That was the scenario that played out and does play out in one of the more quirky films ever to come out of regional Queensland. The brains behind it is director Travis Bain, who produced the movie. It's the latest in a short horror flick series he's got going on, which pits flesh-eating entities against Queensland institutions. And Trav is with us to tell us more about Zombies vs. the Men's Shed today on Drive. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, Adam.
It is as funny and unusual as it sounds, but where did the inspiration for this idea come from?
Oh, well, for that, you'd have to go back 4 years when I did the first film in the series, Zombies vs. the CWA. And like snakes on a plane, the title says it all. You get exactly what you expect when you hear that title. It's a funny thing, but when I make feature films, I tend to do dramas and sort of heavier content. When I do short films, it's my chance to let rip and just have fun. I just go silly. And a few years ago, this idea for a bunch of senior ladies battling zombies popped into my head. It tickled me, and I thought, I can't pass this up. This is great. I thought, the CWA, they've been around for 100 years. They've faced every challenge under the sun, so why not have them face zombies? So that's where the film came from. We had a ball making it. It did really well. And for the last 4 years, I've been contemplating a sort of a flip side to that film with a bunch of senior gents fighting zombies instead.
Can you remember the first time you approached the men's shed in Cairns and sort of ran them through your idea and saw whether they wanted to be involved?
Yeah, it was actually earlier this year, and I had the script. I'd done a script. It was about 8 pages long or so. And I first reached out to Warren Inch. Actually, he's followed my work for a few years now, and I was aware that he was the patron of the local men's shed in Cairns. So I sort of pitched it to him first. And I said, what do you think? Do you think we could get the men's shed on board to do this? Is this too wacky for them? Would they go for it? And he said, look, I think they'll be up for it if you sell them on this. Go and talk to them, have a chat, present your ideas and see what they say. I'm sure they'll be receptive. So that's what I did. I went and had a meeting on one of my days off. And at first I thought I was going to be talking to maybe 1 or 2 guys. And then suddenly there were 10 guys in the room all looking at me going, okay, Travis, sell us your idea. And I was like, okay, this is like almost like a Hollywood pitch meeting or something like that. I've got to deliver the goods. So I had about 5 minutes to sell them on the idea. And luckily I had Zombies versus the CWA to show them. And once they saw that, they could see the proof of concept. So after that, it was nothing was too much trouble. They opened doors for us and made it all happen. They were great. You
were working with a whole lot of guys that have never probably been in a film before, certainly not professional actors. What kind of challenges does that present to you as a director when you're working with a lot of people that haven't actually been involved in film before?
I think the biggest challenge is that people involved in the film scene know that filmmaking is a very arduous and kind of boring process at times, and it's very tedious, and things take a lot longer than you expect. Sometimes a 5-minute scene on screen might take a whole day or half a day to shoot. So I think the guys at the men's shed initially might have been a bit surprised at how long it was taking and how many takes I did. I'm not exactly up there with like David Fincher or Stanley Kubrick, but I do like to do half a dozen takes or something like that just to get the performance that I want, So I think at first they were a bit confused by that, but they got in the groove eventually and they could see that we were after quality. That was the main thing. We were putting the hours in, putting the time in to get the quality. And I think that's up on the screen, as probably evidenced at Understory a couple of weeks ago.
Hearing it from director Travis Bain. He's the brains behind this short horror flick series. It was first Zombies vs. CWA. The latest edition is Zombies vs. the Men's Shed. And in fact, it did pick up a couple of awards at the Understory Film Festival in Cairns. How was it received that night by the crowd, Trav, for those that weren't there?
It was pretty brilliant, Adam. We were number 14 on the timetable out of, I think, 18 films altogether. So the anticipation was sort of building. So we sat there and watched all these other films, and they were great films. Some of them were really nicely shot, and I think one quality you get in North Queensland films is a lot of them are very sort of placid and tranquil. Like you see a lot of these nice scenes of rainforests and turtles and stuff like that, And so we're watching all these largely sort of quote unquote quiet films. Okay, some of them are a bit rowdy, but they were fun and exuberant. And then suddenly Zombies versus the Men's Shed came along, and the film starts with, just the old boys having a chat and that sort of thing. And then the action really ramps up, and you could tell that there was a change in the audience. They really got into it, and the laughter just rippled through the crowd. It was really cool. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
You are actually hoping to be able to showcase this to audiences around the country following your success at the Understory Film Festival in Cairns. Where would you be hoping to get the film into in terms of film festivals around the country?
Well, it's started its festival run officially. I think it'll be travelling around the country for the next few months, or maybe even the next 12 months. I don't know. I've been submitting it to various other fests, some of which I've been in before. It's actually about to screen in Melbourne in another week at the Melbourne Underground Film Festival. The guys down there are great. They've supported my work since 2005, actually, when they screened my first feature. So I think it'll have a great reception down there, and I think it'll tickle people around the country. Hopefully, that's what I want to do. I just want to make people laugh.
So this is now the second in the franchise or the series. Mm-hmm. Is there a third? Zombies vs. Meals on Wheels, or Rotary, or Lions, or something like that down the track?
Now, I've been asked that a bit in the last few weeks, and the analogy I draw is that Spielberg, he directed the first two Jurassic Park films, but then he handed the third over to somebody else. I think I may do that in this instance if there is a third film, and my team and I have been tossing around some ideas. I think we've got a good one, which is not what you'd expect. I think we've sort of been mulling it over, and I think it could be coming along in the next couple of years, so we'll wait and see.
You've been at this a long time, but to get this key piece of infrastructure in the city as well, with the investment in the studio now by the state government, do you feel like things are just about to take off for Far North filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, as they say, a rising tide floats all boats, and I think, the influx of production, which is going to start happening here in the next couple of years, is pretty exciting. It's going to bring new talent to the town, and also foster existing talent around the town. People who might have otherwise thought they'd have to go to Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne to get training and experience can now work on shows here, and even if you start off as a lowly cable puller or a gaffer's assistant or something like that, you can work your way up the ladder. And I think that's only going to be a good thing for the local indie film scene.